I got my focus on passion and empathy. Gaining perspectives, investing, I do believe. Money and grinding go hand in hand, you will see. I'm working smart, expending my energy. Hope that you feeling me, I'm acting differently. You got a friend in me. I'm working hard to try and work smart. No time to complain, it's time to start. We gotta work. Future millionaires.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Future Millionaires. Today, we have on Sean Lowery, who is an owner of the e-commerce store United Monograms, which surpassed $5 million in sales last year. With that being said, he is also the host of the Sean Lowery Show podcast. So without further ado, Sean, how you doing today?
Hey, I'm doing great. It's a pleasure to be on the show. Just, kind of quarantined here in my podcast studio, safe and sound. So,
Yep. To give the listeners a little context of, because I'm not sure when this will come out. Times vary a little bit, but this is right at the point where Corona's becoming, I guess, a real issue. The date is St. Patrick's Day. So just to give everyone's context for what we talk about, because I'm sure that will come out throughout the podcast. But
it's a big deal. It's affecting a lot of businesses and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I mean, definitely I want to get into later how that's, affecting yours, because I saw something on your Instagram about it. But first, I'd like to start with just kind of like a 60-second snippet of where you're at right now so the listeners can get a little bit of better understanding of what Sean Lowery is all about.
Okay. Yeah, what I'm all about. So I'm a businessman. I absolutely love business. I started in my mom's basement right after I graduated college. That's where I started, and I had no idea what I wanted to do, but I had read the book, Think and Grow Rich, changed my life. Ever since then, I've changed my mindset, had an entrepreneurial mindset, and it started there. I had a few adjustments and pivots along the way until I found the business I'm at now. I have 15 employees, and we've been growing very quickly, and I started my podcast recently, kind of just for fun and to keep myself sane, to talk about business. And I'm a go entrepreneur type of guy. I'm not like a passive income type of guy. I like to build businesses. I love getting dirty, working all the time. That's where I get my happiness and my fulfillment from, is building my business. And I'm young. I'm 30 years old, which I consider very young. I got my whole life ahead of me. But it's probably old for you, right? Because you're a younger guy. Still young for me, but I guess older from my perspective, definitely. Right. Well, then you can consider me wise. I'm wise.
Yeah, there we go.
But that's just a quick tidbit. But I just love business, and it's just so fun. It's just a game every single day.
I'm right there with you, man.
Keeps life exciting.
Definitely. No, I can relate to that a ton. So I'd love for you also to dive into your early upbringing and when entrepreneurship was introduced, because I noticed you said you started in your mom's basement, but were there any kind of like breadcrumbs that you found, where you're like, maybe I am kind of an entrepreneur looking back at it and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I actually always say that I wasn't really an entrepreneur as a kid until I became about 19. I started reading the book Think and Grow Rich. But I always said that I wanted to be a millionaire, and I didn't really know what that meant. I always said that. And actually, I had kind of a crazy childhood. I was born and raised in Syracuse, New York. Well, I was born in Syracuse, New York. I lived there for 12 years. And my dad passed away from ALS. And my families were like fought and disagreed about some things. Then I moved to Chicago for 3 years. And that was actually like the hardest thing in my life. In sixth grade, I had to move from all my friends into a new school across the country in seventh grade. And then I lived there 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. Great years, but one of the great years of my life after I eventually made friends. And then because of more family circumstances, I had to move again. And it was tough because then I was the new kid in 10th grade, and I went through the same issues. But the resilience of moving both of those times, it was devastating both times I had to move, because I was so sad to leave my friends and go on a whole new journey. And then after I got over that heartbreak, I had to deal with being a new kid at a new school in the beginning of the school year, where it wasn't like it was the middle of the school year, so they knew that I was new. Like they just thought that I had been there the whole time, and so I had to sit down at lunch tables. So I just learned a lot of resilience and toughness, and I got to adjust and be around different people. And I think that those skills have taught me a lot about, they've translated to being an entrepreneur. One, having to learn and having to adjust, being able to act in different settings around different people, and overcoming you know, it's not as tragic as some other people have had it, but it was really tough moving away from my friends twice
of course.
4-year spans.
Mhm.
So having kind of a deal with some adversity, and I just knew that I was resilient and tough, and I got kind of tested, I guess, early in life, and it gave me some perspective. And then I transferred colleges after my freshman year, so I've always kind of been on the move. And then when I started my mom's basement, that was in Philadelphia, and now I live in Charleston, South Carolina. So I've always kind of been on the move, kind of been adjusting and thinking, and I never like to get stuck in my ways or set in my ways. And I think those are great traits for an entrepreneur. So when I became 19, learned the entrepreneur, like what it takes. Basically, you have to have your own business, and kind of. I wanted to be a millionaire, and then I learned most millionaires have their own business. So then I started learning what it takes to start a business, and just all those things, kind of one thing after another, kind of put me on the trajectory of having the skills that I think it takes to be an entrepreneur, which is toughness, resilience, and ability to adapt.
Mm-hmm. And Think and Grow Rich was what started that want to like learn more about business, right?
Yes, that book changed my life. I was a different person before I read it than when I was after I read it.
No, that's awesome. Literally, I have, those books are cheap now because they're out of like Domain or whatever. They're like $5. So literally, I know it's life changing. And at my college, I'll hand them out to people for free.
That's
like, because it's awesome. One good book like that. I mean, look what it did to start you on your journey. So that's what I hope to do for other people as well with it.
Yeah.
So with that being said, what was your first business that you started in your mother's basement?
All right. So I wanted to start. I didn't have any idea what type of business I wanted to start. So when I started thinking about it in college, I was like, I don't know. And she's like some type of brand. So I thought of like this stupid brand called S. My friends still make fun of me.
Wait, what was it called?
It was called S. It ended up being S. ESDOT. I don't know. My friends still make fun of me to this day because of it. But so I don't know. I started putting it on like shirts on like the internet. And then when I quit, I actually had a job for 2 months, a sales job. I quit it. I actually went up, I had a coffee on my desk, and I was going to the bathroom. And instead of taking a left to go to the bathroom, I took a right, went out to the parking lot to my car, and went to my mom's basement. And I hadn't worked for anyone since then.
Did you not like sales, or did you just know like you wanted a different environment?
I just wanted to work for myself.
Okay.
I knew I needed to start my own business. I was 22 at this point.
Yeah.
When I was 19, I started having entrepreneurial thoughts, but I graduated college. And I was in a fraternity at the time, and I started up a few things. I actually started this like fest at my school.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah, so I started to think entrepreneurially. But then right after I graduated, I got this job. I don't know why. I just followed, but then I quit it. And I was like, all right, this is the start of my journey. So I had this T-shirt thing on my head. So I got a $1,500 credit card. I had no money. I don't come from money. My mom's basement is this tiny little basement. It's like a townhouse. It's not big. And I had $1,500 credit card that I got approved for. And I bought this screen printing equipment to make T-shirts. And I didn't really know what I was going to do with it. I thought I might start. I just started. That's good advice, I think, for the listeners is just start. And I'm very action-based. And that's one of my greatest strengths is I don't get stuck in what if, plan. I'm a doer. And that's played out well for me. So I got my friend involved who's an artist because I'm terrible at art. And he was like, hey, I don't know about this whole S-Dot thing, but let's just start going back to our old fraternity and selling shirts to them. And I was like, all right. So we basically started like a screen printing business. And we did that for about 6 to 8 months. Wasn't really my original vision, but it sucked. It was terrible. It wasn't good. We actually sold shirts back to our fraternity, and they put them in the wash, and they came out in the wash. Like our product was terrible.
Oh yeah.
And we got. I mean, I think I counted it up, and we did about like $40,000 in sales.
That's actually a good amount though for your first venture. Like
we didn't make, but we lost money. We didn't make any money.
Still though, like you're getting somewhere for sure. I
was hustling. I was getting jobs. I was going to friends, family. I was doing whatever I could to sell. Hey, you need shirts for your. I remember actually. University of Penn, it was near me, and I stood outside of the fraternities, and I stood there for hours. And I just waited for guys to come out, and I would start talking to them. Hey, you're in that fraternity. You need shirts. You need shirts for Rush. Like I was a salesman. I was doing whatever I could to land these jobs. And I landed some jobs. I didn't get a lot of repeat jobs because every time we sold them shirts, they were so terrible.
Yeah,
that was actually one of our biggest problems was the quality of our product because. there's details. If you want black shirts, you got to do this underbrace printing, blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
But so that was my first business. And it was actually called Ponzi Studios. I don't know. That was the name of it. And then after 6 to 8 months, my friend, we weren't making any money. I said I wanted to move on. But one thing I did in the meantime, for fun kind of, was I'm a fan of Notre Dame football.
So is my grandpa, huge fan.
Yeah,
he went to Notre Dame, yeah.
He went there. My grandpa was just some Irish Catholic guy who got me to be a fan. So I always make fun of myself for being a fan. Yes, I didn't go there, blah. But I was a fan. And so I started a Twitter account, and I got 60,000. This is around 2012, 2013. Yeah. And I got 60,000 followers on the Twitter account. And I just tweeted on every Saturday during the game days for fun. And I tweeted like touchdown. Like I tweeted during the game, and I built up an audience.
What was the name of your account too?
It was Go Fighting Irish.
Okay.
And it's gone now. And dude, I can't believe it's gone now. Like I did it for like 4 or 5 years. Even after this business was gone, which I'll tell you about. Somehow I think I didn't pay attention to it over the summer when the season was off. I went to check it. My password was changed. I contacted Twitter. I swear they cleaned it up. But when it was really hot in 2012, Twitter was very popular then.
Yeah.
And the team was good. And my Twitter account was burning hot. It was 60,000 followers. I made a Shopify store, and it was called Go Irish $15 Tees.
Yeah.
And I started selling T-shirts to this audience. And I had I was struggling. I started my screen printing business. It was in the dirt. I was in my mom's basement trying to figure out what the hell I'm doing. And I started to get sales, and I had tens of thousands of dollars of sales selling Notre Dame T-shirts through my Shopify site to this audience of Notre Dame fans, which I had built up.
And the T-shirts, were those from your screen printing, or?
So yes.
Okay.
I screen printed. So that's why I sold them shirts.
Yeah.
Because I had this screen printing equipment.
Because they didn't have print on demand back then, did they? Or?
I mean, maybe.
Probably not established.
Maybe, but I can talk about print on demand, but you obviously have more margin if you do it yourself.
Of course.
But so I had my own screen printing equipment, and it was awesome. So I would print some shirts. I keep them in my mom's basement. As people would buy them, I would pack them in packages, drive to the post office, and I felt like the king of the world because I would check my Shopify and I would have $800 in sales that day. And then they were really good that year. So we had a shirt. It was 2012 and 0. And they got crushed. They got crushed by Alabama in the national championship. Yeah. There's like a 3-week period in between the last game, and Notre Dame doesn't have a conference championship game in the national championship. So during those 3 weeks, I was having about $1,000 of sales a day, and I felt like the king. I had tens of thousands of dollars of sales, and it was a huge success. I was making profit. I was making money. I was learning about shipping. I was learning about customer service. I was learning about logistics. And so actually that got shut down because it's essentially copyright infringement.
Yeah.
And it wasn't fair. And it wasn't a sustainable business. They didn't take any money from me.
That's nice.
But I fell in love with selling products online to individual customers, B2C e-commerce sales. I loved it because I hate it with screen printing that it was so client based. People would call me. I spent so much time with them, giving them pricing. It felt small minded. It was only local because I don't know, you couldn't really ship. It was like referral based.
You'd have to send people to go sell them in other states and whatnot.
Yeah, and then you have to ship big boxes, and it's just so commoditized. Everyone knows a screen printer. Oh, my buddy can make shirts for you. It's such a margin thin, small-minded business. I hated that. The whole time I was doing it, I was like, this feels small-minded. And then when I started selling online while I was sleeping to people in Michigan, Ohio, Indiana, California, Maryland, New Mexico, North Dakota, I was like, this is something to it. Doesn't matter where I'm at. I could build an audience online through Twitter at the time, and then I can sell them products. I was like, this feels bigger. I love the idea of selling products to people across the country through a Shopify site. Yeah. So then I'm like, I love this. So the next thing I did was I had this idea it was going to be $15 tees. Terrible name. I don't know, because someone could do $14 tees, or I don't know. But I was going to do it for all these different states, cities, ideas. And I had all these different Twitter accounts I was building up, but the one that hit it big was called USA $15 tees, and I built a Twitter account with about 90,000 followers. Dang. That was 4th of July, American Pride, USA, red, white, and blue. That was like the niche. And then around the 4th of July, huge success selling different patriotic, funny, like red, white, and blues tank tops. And I'd print on all my screen printing equipment. So same business model, e-commerce, B2C, selling with my production. At this point, I have my own like little warehouse and better screen printing equipment.
Yeah.
And I was kind of building my production, and I was storing my products. I would print them, I would store them, and I would ship them out to my customers. So I started to fall in love with this business model, and I've expanded on over the years to where I'm at now. But that turned into United Tees, which was my business model. And then my girlfriend got involved, and she was better at making designs. And so then we started selling to guys and girls. And then we got to where I am today was people started asking for monograms, and we didn't really know what that was. And it's a girl-based thing, and it's very popular in like the South, like the Southern United States. And that's what we sell now, and it's monograms. It's like my girlfriend convinced me to buy a $500 embroidery machine, because monograms they're traditionally your upper left chest. It's the girl's 3 initials. It's your monogram, and it's like a thing. Do you know what they are?
To be honest, they're not that popular in Wisconsin.
They are very popular in the South, and it's crazy because when people are shopping on our site, we have like a map that shows little orange dots.
With the
and we're trying to expand it across the country, but we have a built-in audience, like in the South, from Texas to South Carolina, up to like around Missouri, down to Texas and Florida. That's like the base of where monograms are popular. So we found this niche. And the first year it was like 90% United Tees, 10% United Monograms. The next year it was like 50-50. And now we found this niche that's so good. And it's so good because girls love shopping online. We have repeat customers because people love it. But one of the problems with the t-shirts and the United Tees was so many people can compete. Anyone can make t-shirts, and they can go on Teespring. They can go on print on demand and come up with a funnier design than me and compete with me. And with monograms, we are still e-commerce. We are still B2C. We sell directly to customers. We do it online. We do it across the country, but we're harder to compete with now because now we have some complexities in our products. We still print, we still embroider, but we have this like more complex automation for every single one is different. Yeah. So we found, I started on the business. I always tell people to focus on one thing in business, and that's one of the most important things. And when you hear my story, it's like, okay, you did Notre Dame, you did America, you did monograms. You weren't focused at all. But I was always focused on B2C, direct business to consumer, selling directly to the consumer, not business to business, selling directly to the consumer and doing that online. So now we just have a very, very smart way of doing that. And because we sell monograms directly to the customer, but everything they buy from us is still the same. We package it up and we ship it to them. And the shipping, over the years, I've learned all the shipping complexities. I've stayed on that. I've learned all the details of how to get the blank items, t-shirts, sweatshirts, getting them from suppliers. I've learned that. And building a customer base and selling them products. I've learned that. And now we just have more complexities because we sell personalized items. So we have 15 employees. We have an embroidery department. We have a printing department. And everything we sell is personalized with a monogram on it. And I've stayed focused on B2C e-commerce. And I found this amazing niche by doing all this pivoting. I found this amazing niche. Now I have a $5 million business that's still growing. We've done over 10, 12 million in sales, just 5 million last year. And we're trying to double this year. It's been a little slowed down right now.
With good old Corona.
But the business is booming. And through all those little pivots and all those little adjustments, I stayed good at knowing what I do well. And I've made pivots and adjustments where I've needed to. And I found this great niche that I always make fun of myself that I sell girls' clothing. Because my fiance is great at, we're getting married in like a month. Well, I don't know now.
Oh, congrats.
Thanks. I don't know. With the coronavirus, I don't know. But
good point,
but point is, we've been together 4 or 5 years, and she is helped with like the fashion and the style. And I've been able to build the business, hire the employees, do the branding, do the marketing, the Facebook ads.
Definitely.
So I love the fact that I don't have to worry about making good designs because that's not my strength. So we got her girly look, my business strength, and we've combined it into this like with this great market that we found, that we've landed on and identified and pounced. We've had like over 5, 6, I think up to maybe 10, 15,000 customers now who have placed multiple orders with us, which is huge in e-commerce. We're retaining our customers. They buy something from us once, they buy from us again, they buy from us again. And so yeah, through all those little pivots, we found this great business. And I say I'm a B2C e-commerce sales expert, and I am not building a Teespring. Everyone, do you know what Teespring is?
Of course.
It's like, and that is for people who they are good at making designs and they want to have a cool design and they want to start a business, and they'll go on Teespring and they'll start selling to their customers their design on Teespring, and that's cool. But I always say that those people, they're more like kind of doing a side hustle. It's not really building a business because they don't control their margins, they don't control their products, they don't control their pricing, and it's a good way to start. But I control all my processes, and with monograms, I could never do Teespring. So I am committed to building a physical business with shipping and employees and warehouse space, and I like that. I want to do that, and I've committed to that. And it's going to be hard for other people to compete with us. It's going to give us competitive advantages. Maybe in the future we can build some type of Teespring business and we control the production. I don't know. The whole world's open to us.
The whole world.
But I've decided, that I want to control the production, and that's where I'm at.
Yeah, no, I mean, that gave a really good insight into kind of like how you transitioned from, that original. It's funny because I feel like a lot of times the original business shows up in the current business, just like those skills, what you've learned, especially in this scenario. I mean, clearly they're not identical at all, but just the fundamentals of the two are very, crucial to doing that. But, and just to give the listener some context, if you don't know what Teespring is or print on demand, it's basically just like you can print out a t-shirt and, basically it's like drop shipping, but with t-shirts, right? A company can print one out.
You create a design, you put it on the internet, and then this company, then you promote it. And if someone buys it, the company will print the shirt and ship it to the customer, and you get a small percentage of that sale.
Exactly. Yeah. And Sean's definitely right. The margins on that are pretty terrible. Right. So it is important. Like, I don't know, some of my friends, if they're interested in starting a clothing brand, I always tell them, start with that and then transition.
It's a good way to start. It's a good way to
save some cash.
You get to see if people are interested in even buying your product. And if 5, 10, 20 people buy it, then maybe you can think, all right, how can I do my own production? Blah, blah, blah. But it's definitely a good way to start. I encourage it for people who just want to start. Yeah,
definitely. But one thing that I feel like and I mean, I know you know this, like just the niche that you talked about and finding that, how it's been able to explode your business. But I want to talk about how you were able to do that, because I know you mentioned pivoting, right? And I get that, but more in depth in the tactics of how you were able to pivot and just analytically see that this was going to crush it, and then how you tested it and found that.
Okay. So you need a niche in order to sell anything. And I made it sound easier than it was with my story because the sales part I kind of left out. But okay, if you just make a t-shirt and put it on Teespring and try to sell it, no one is going to buy it. No one. Like if you make a cool logo or if you make an awesome design, you need a niche. You need to know what you're selling. So the Notre Dame thing, I knew what my niche was. It was people Notre Dame football. And it was hard to build that account up. In 2012, Twitter was much more popular. And you could do this thing where I would go to other Notre Dame accounts and I would follow all the people who followed them. And they would get a notification. Notre Dame followed you. Then they followed back. Then you like unfollow. You can't do that anymore. And but I knew what I was going for. And then with the America account, I did kind of the same thing. But if t-shirts are just like the easiest way to like kind of monetize something. But first, don't start with start with what's your niche. Is it skateboarding? What do you have a community of people who love? And that is the most important thing. And what exactly was your question? So
how are you, because I know you pivoted a ton, but how are you able to identify this is the community? And then once you found that, how are you able to really just go in and be like, okay, this is what we want to focus on?
So the Notre Dame one I did by accident. And because I liked Notre Dame and I made the account. But then when I decided that I wanted to do another niche, I was like, okay, I need to build another audience first. So I made this account and it was called Our Free America or something. And it wasn't like me, it wasn't like my face. It was just very like patriotic, like flag. And the reason I did that was because one, I know there's a built-in love already for people who like America, and it was copyright free, right? It was red, white, and blue. So that was my reason. But before I even made my first t-shirt design, for months, I tweeted 10, 20 times a day, not selling anything and building up an audience of people who wanted to follow that account because they loved America. So for months and months, I didn't try to sell anything. I just collect, and it was a lot of work to make creative tweets about loving America and building up the audience. And now you can't do that because Twitter's not as popular. So you need different strategies. So I strategically picked that audience and I pivoted to that and I started selling them shirts. And then when we got the monogram thing in, it was funny because the strategy kind of changed because it was less building up an audience of people who love monograms. And we did that, but that was with our account that sold monograms. Yeah. So it's funny because around the same time, 2015, 2016, no more attention on Twitter. Like Twitter used to have the most organic audience. It was crazy. It might have even been before your time. Now Twitter has barely any organic audience. I mean, in different things it does, but then it switched to Instagram and Facebook. And so Instagram and Facebook. And now we have to pay. So now it was great. It was great that Twitter was so good in 2012 because I had no money and it was kind of free. It was free because the audience and the eyeballs were there. I had to do a lot of work and a lot of clicking, following, and tweeting to get that audience. I had to be smart and strategic. But now, the only way that I know to get these free eyeballs is we pay. We pay.
Yeah.
I am now an expert on Facebook and Instagram ads. And it took me a while to figure out how to be so good at it. But now we just have our audience. We have over 300,000 likes on Facebook. We have 130 almost thousand Instagrams for followers for our account United Monograms. And we have a great audience. We're obsessed with providing value to our audience. Pictures. We do a weekly live show and giveaway. We are now, we do a free, we're obsessed with our customers now, but we spend money now on Facebook and Instagram. And if I had $0 and I had to build an audience from scratch for someone who's young and that's listening, I don't know exactly what the tactics would be, but I know that I would find something that people already love. Whether it be, for me, it was Notre Dame, America, but whether it be, like a skateboarding, a sports team, it's something very specific. Like a sports team is a good one. And maybe you can't sell, the hard part is you can't sell products to them, but you can build an audience. Start a Twitter account of, like Michigan Wolverines. And people already love that. And you can maybe build an audience around people who love the Michigan Wolverines, whether it be Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, wherever it is. And then you have that audience, and then maybe you can try to think of a creative way to monetize that down the road. But that's my advice. Try to find something that people already love and start building an audience around it, just because it's easier. If you want to start a podcast where people just love you and your opinions and your brand, that's going to be harder because no one knows who the hell you are. People probably don't care about you. And business is pretty vague. So that's kind of like a hack. Start a business around something that people already love. And then once you have 10, 20, 30,000 people with attention, you can find a way to monetize it. And it's going to be hard. Copyright, blah, blah, blah. Maybe it's not Michigan Wolverines. Maybe it's just people who love the state of Michigan. Maybe and then you just tweet funny things that are specific to the state of Michigan. Flint, where no water. I don't know what it is. But if you're like the expert on funny things about the state of Michigan, rivalries between Michigan State and the Wolverines, or like you just have all the funny memes about the state of Michigan and anything that goes on, the mayor, the governor, you're just the source for funny memes and information on the state of Michigan. You get everyone in the state of Michigan to follow you. That's a built-in audience that now you have all their eyeballs and attention. And then you can figure out how to monetize that. So that's just an idea.
Yeah.
And you talked about pivoting. That's why I pivoted. I combined niches who I was selling to with back ends of what I was producing. And I took those two things into consideration as I made the pivots.
Yeah.
Niche. And that's what I meant monograms.
It's interesting, to talk with somebody who started in a way where they were always producing what they were selling, because I feel like so many times now e-commerce stores, like you look at some bigger brands too, like Movement watches and whatnot, they started with AliExpress drop shipping. And then, so it's just interesting to hear that perspective too, from kind of like, always been doing the fulfillment and the supply chain with that.
It's so easy now to start selling products with drop shipping and third-party fulfillment. And that's what a lot of people do. And I guess it's a little different for me. And I love the fact that I always controlled the production, because it is the difference between a real business and not a real business.
Yeah, no, it definitely has to do a lot with like retaining customers, keeping them happy, not having to wait 2 weeks, 4 weeks for getting their product. So for sure. And with that too, are you guys utilizing anything on the influencer side of stuff, like user gems, anything like that with Shopify?
I don't know what user gems is.
Oh, for real?
No.
So user gems, to be honest, I don't think a lot of people know about it, but basically what it does with e-commerce stores that are through Shopify is it will take everyone who bought from you and it will organize who has the most followers out of the people who bought from you. And then you can go back in and like contact somebody and be like, hey, I'm the CEO of blank. We contact like 5 people a day. And then just start a conversation and, see if they're interested in potentially promoting the products.
That's cool.
And having like
I
an
love
affiliate.
That's really cool. I love that. But yeah, we do influencer marketing. We do tons of it. We pay. It's actually, I think it's a little overpriced, to be honest. And it's something that we're working on. But we pay, because now our industry is like fashion, like girls fashion, which is part of my pivoting and adjustment. Girls love shopping online. So like this girl fashion business is a great niche that I found. It's one of the reasons I pivoted here, and the whole monogram thing adds a special element to it. But we pay fashion bloggers lots of money. We send them products and they post it on their stories and so we do tons of influencer marketing. And then I find it valuable because then we get the pictures, then we can promote it and run it on our own ads. But yeah, we do that.
Okay, so then paid traffic too. Has that been the main source and you're selling through, I'm assuming like your biggest platform is Instagram, or what's that looking like?
So Facebook and Instagram are the same thing on the back end. Facebook owns Instagram. So Facebook ad platform is where I spend all my time and money, really. And it's turned out to be very effective. It's the best way. And there's different things within it. There's story ads, there's carousel ads, there's promoting posts, blah, 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 a bunch of different strategies for that. But that is where I spent all my time and effort and money. And I don't like the fact that I'm just, using one place. If it ever gets taken away from me, I'm screwed. So we have 300,000 people on our email list, which no one can ever take that away from us. So we have that. But I try other things. So Snapchat has a decent ad platform. Now they're not getting as much eyeballs lately because Instagram kind of stole their whole thing, their stories. So they actually have a good ad platform, but I haven't been putting as much money there because it hasn't been working. I applied to be, so Twitter has an ad platform. Every single time I've ever used it, they suck. If I put $100 budget in or something, they suck my $100 and I get no traffic or money. And I'm just like, what the hell? It's probably been 6 months since I've dived in. So like maybe I should go back in and be readjusting how good are Twitter ads, but I don't spend a lot of money on Twitter ads. So, I mean, here's all the ones that exist. So Facebook and Instagram, Twitter, Snapchat, Google ads. It's like, we run some, and we're starting to maybe just try to produce more commercials because Google and YouTube are the same. They own each other. So that's running ads on like pre-roll on YouTube. And kind of, and we do run some. Basically, if someone searches United Monograms, we should come up. Like we have some, but not a lot from that. Not a lot on Google. I actually found most of our money spent on Google ads was people who were already searching our brand name, United Monograms. So then they would just click on our paid one but they would have found us anyway. So like I haven't been putting a lot of money into Google Ads, and that would be the next one that I think I might need to go back into and do more on.
What about TikTok and whatnot?
So
Have you explored that platform?
So that was the next one I was going to say.
Yeah.
So I applied to be an advertiser on TikTok and didn't hear anything back. But as far as producing content on TikTok, United Monograms has a TikTok account. We have about 350, 400 followers. Not a lot. And it's funny because 6 years ago, I used to be more of like the grinder, and I would be more of an expert on how to get organic traffic and then how to turn that into, but now I'm kind of more of a paid ad guy because I guess I'm like a little more mature, and maybe I need to like slap myself and get back on like the ground floor. But I will admit the fact that I can't have links back to my website and paid ads on TikTok has made me not spend as much attention on it. And the other thing is it's harder to produce content for. Like,
true.
You can't just take a pretty picture. Like we have a whole system. Every week we go out, we get pictures with models. We get all these pretty pictures. We have and we got all these new pictures. We post them. We run ads. I can't just take those pictures and like put them on TikTok. It needs to be produced originally. So we've tried to like have some original content for TikTok. And we had one TikTok that had like 30,000, 40,000 views. But that doesn't directly turn around and get links and clicks back to the website, which is our ad spend money to So we are engaged in TikTok, and we're not doing as much as we should on it probably. But it's hard because like, we sell pictures of pretty girls and wearing the monograms. And I've been trying to think of creative ways to put that on TikTok. And we've tried to like, in our warehouse, have a blank monogram and then have it get embroidered and pop up and have it, but we haven't put as much time resources into it. But I think we would be more interested if we got approved to be an advertiser on there. Because they have ads.
Yeah. And so with the approval process, because I actually have no clue for TikTok, how that works. Is it like a certain amount of time you have to wait till you figure out if you are or aren't, or is that a big question mark for all of us at this point?
I applied, and they said we'll let you know, and I haven't heard anything back from them. And I know that Snapchat, before they went public, like Snapchat went public, and then they had like an ad platform, which is what they want. After they went public, they had an ad platform, which is basically like for everybody, and theirs is pretty good. But I think that TikTok, once they like get bigger, they'll have an ad platform which anyone can access. But I noticed that the ads on TikTok right now seem to mostly be like bigger, really big companies. And maybe I'm wrong there, but I don't know. Our company hasn't got approved, and maybe I need to go back in and contact them. And I
got no clue on that.
I know that they don't have an ad platform that's accessible to everybody.
Yeah, that is true.
And when those companies go big, when Twitter went public, when Facebook went public, when Snapchat went public, then one of the main things they do is create an ad platform that's accessible to everybody. So then small advertisers can use them. And I don't think TikTok's there. I don't think TikTok's there yet.
Yeah. So what's been the hardest part of this all to scale? Because I know you said you brought on 15 employees. I mean, while maintaining margins, like, how has that all been while you bring on more people while still trying to, hold on to those healthy margins?
So my craziest story was about 2 years ago now. It's actually, every time I tell the story, it gets a little further away. But 2 years ago, or maybe a little less than 2 years, my business crashed and failed into the ground. I was $300,000 in the hole, and I had to let go half my employees. And the reason was I was transitioning from paying no money in ads, having all these sales, to paying money and hiring people. And it was booming. I was having a couple $100,000 in sales a month, and it was great. It was great. And I was hiring people. And then around the holidays, our business always booms, right? So Christmas. So then it was January, February, March. I guess it's March now. So it's probably 2 Marches ago. I promised all my employees we're a booming business, we're growing. And I kept all my employees. We had like 11, maybe 9, 11 at the time. And I'm talking shippers, printers, physical labor workers. And I kept running ads to get sales. And I was losing money. I was trying to keep the work, to keep my employees busy, to keep our revenue growing. And in order to do that, I'd spend money. And I was spending money on the ads, and I was kind of newer to it. And I spent so much money on the ads to keep the revenue coming in, and I wasn't smart enough that I was losing money every day. And I was $300,000 in the hole. I remember I had so little money that me and my fiance would go to the store to buy spaghetti, and our cards would get declined. And we still had like revenue coming in. So we say we had $3,000 in sales in a day, which is a terrible day. And that money would like come in the morning the next day, and I would try to like take that $3,000 at 9 a.m. when it came in and pay off a couple bills here and there. And then at 11, a bunch of bills would come out. So then the bank account would have like negative 4,000. And then I would get like my bank fees, and then that would all drop off. And then the next morning I would have like 30 bucks, and then a few bucks would come in, and it was the messiest disaster. And I had to, I bought a house, and I had to rent the house out on Airbnb and sleep at the office. And it was terrible. And the reason it was is because I was transitioning from paid ads to paying employees to having a payroll. And it's just business growth problems. And at the time, I'm very proud of how I handled it at the time, because I knew by reading all my books and understanding that how hard business is, and 95% of companies fail. And I knew that. And I'd been in business for 3 or 4 years. I was lucky to have this success. And I knew I have obviously had pivots before and little ups and downs, but this was a tragic downfall. And I kept a positive mindset. I woke up in the morning, and I was like, I would wake up and I was like, let's go. And I took pictures of my negative bank accounts. I took pictures of me and my fiance sleeping at the office. And I was like, we're going to look back on this one day, and we are going to have a great story to tell. And so we fought through it. And one of the lessons there is just perseverance. And I knew that I had a business that was good. This Monogram thing was great. It wasn't the customer's fault that I ran it wrong. So I knew if we had no sales and we had terrible products and no customers, no one was buying anything, that would be a different problem. The problem was I had a logistics problem with ad spend. And so I knew I had a good business. I knew I needed to fight through this with perseverance and toughness. And it was legitimately crazy perseverance and toughness to get through it. And also, I learned legitimate numbers of how to run my business. I now know that I can't spend more than 25% of our daily revenue on advertising. And now I have all over my company, we all have access to these data. It's called Grow. It's like a metrics platform. And if everyone knows in my company that if we go over this certain percent of ad spend, that it's bad. If we're ever getting high sales and it's up at like 27, 28%, like I know that I need to shut the sales down and just start running things more efficiently, because people will still buy stuff, but it'll just be, we spend too much that we lose money. So now through that, I learned the metrics to run my business. So then I took that and I learned these new Facebook. This is really getting into the weeds, but
love it, man.
With Facebook ads, if you spend $1,000 a day, you can put in $1,000 a day, and they'll spend $1,000 a day. And I learned that there's this thing called manual bidding, where I can put in like a cost per conversion, or like and I've learned through millions of spreadsheets. It's different with every business, but basically it's like a cap that if the ad's not performing well, Facebook will stop. They won't, like, you'll put in. Actually, all my ads on Facebook right now, they say to spend $1 million a day. I never spend $1 million a day, but it's basically get me as many sales as you can at this cost. And so I basically found a way to cap my ads to, now this is different with every business and every margin, but I know my specific, between my margins and my revenue and my specific business, I know exactly what cost I need to get on Facebook per sale. And I know I need it to be a 2.5 return on ad spend in Facebook. So it's great. So I know that, and I set that, so I can just set ads, and I run the ads that I try to run the best ads possible, the best products, that everything goes into it. And if they perform well, they'll get a lot of sales. If they perform terribly, it won't lose me any money. So through that terrible downturn, I had no choice but to learn this stuff.
Yeah.
So then once I learned it, once I fine-tuned it, once I pinpointed it, figured out the metrics, all this stuff, all the details, I now know how to run my business. So that was so exciting. So after that, after I fought through, got back, got a few bucks, paid off. It took me months to pay off all my bills and all my debts. Now I had a good business. And if it weren't for all that, I never would have learned. So I'm happy that it all happened, but I learned very specifically how to run my business. And it was crazy. It was crazy that I had to go through all that. But I'm very happy that, and actually now is like the first time that we're kind of hitting another little thing with this whole coronavirus thing. Because the economy's been booming. But I have no doubt. And actually today, I met with my 2 or 3 salesperson team, and no one wants to buy clothes because they don't know when the next time they're going to wear them is. So we're adjusting, and we're looking to maybe sell some more home decor products. Things that while people are stuck at home.
That's a good point, honestly. Yeah.
And we don't know if it's going to work or not. And I just hired like an operations manager who's going to like be the manager of my 15 employees and like we've been booming, and we've ever since that little downturn, and the economy's been booming. We've been booming. And now it's like the first time, and I'm already trying to make adjustments. We wanted to hire like 2 more things, and we're kind of holding off a week or 2. But I'm just staying positive and trying to make adjustments with what we sell and stuff. But it's crazy. Maybe there's going to be a huge global downturn, and I don't know what to do. But I know that we'll be able to handle it. But it's fun times, man. And that's what entrepreneurs kind of thrive on. I like challenges, and I like having to make adjustments here and there. So I keep that attitude too, that this is fun. We have to adjust. And even though it's tough and hard.
No, I can tell that you enjoy it. Like I can definitely tell that, you realize it's not easy and you don't really want it to necessarily be easy. Like, I feel like you like those twists and turns and, of course, stressful, but enjoyable, right?
Yeah. And for young entrepreneurs that are listening, that is my key to success. And you hear it with Gary Vee and everything. Love the process. Love the process. And what that means to me is I sell girls' clothing. I don't give a shit about girls' clothing. And from the beginning, like even back to my story, what do I want to sell? And yes, it helps if you're passionate about your product or your service. But I love the business. I love finding the marketplace where this monogram thing, finding it. Recognizing it, why it's a good niche, because it's built a niche. People love buying things over and over. They already love clothes. Girls love shopping online, blah, blah, blah. And then finding that was fun, and then building the business is fun. Hiring the employees, managing the employees. It's very hard to manage 50 employees who are wage workers. Dealing with that, building an environment where you want to attract people. I love that part of it. Hiring an operations manager, figuring out, okay, we order from our supplier, then we lay it out here, and then it goes to this department, it goes to this department. We have so many little logistics with it. We basically have a warehouse and a factory, a manufacturing factory, and there's so many little kinks from the supply chain, from where it goes to where it goes. And then we had to build this whole system with a server where every single file that we used to have someone hand make each file. And now it's all automated. All the fun logistic, that's the part that I love, and I get my rocks. That's where I get my, it's fun, and I love that part. And that's the process of building it, and that's what I love and get excited about. And that's why I'm so excited to go from 15 to 30 people. I'm currently looking with my real estate guy to try to find a bigger building, and like that's the part I love. And I never want to get it to a point where it's set up and I can go chill and relax on the beach.
Yeah, well,
if you have that mindset, I think you're going to lose, because that's no fun for me. Sitting on the beach would be so boring.
Too much sun, not enough work.
Yeah, exactly. And it might be fun for a day or 2, but eventually you're going to be hungover.
No, I know what you mean. It's like, I don't know, at least for me, I get a sense of fulfillment out of my work, and I feel like you do as well. And with that being said, I mean, I know you have your own podcast. So what are, some consistent traits of successful people that you've seen that you've had on that show, with all the people that you've sat down and interviewed as well?
Consistent traits of successful people. I mean, that is one that I would say is having passion for the process over the product. And honestly, just being smart and strategic and thinking for yourself. So many people, they they hear the basic traits of like starting a business and they just kind of follow it, and they don't think outside the box, or like they
No, I think that's
you know what I mean?
no, I do. It's kind of like, at least in the agency space, right? Because that's what I'm most familiar with. I feel like everyone's kind of like copy paste. How am I going to do this exact same thing? You know, without like looking and asking, how can we innovate our process to be different?
Yes. Copy paste. So many people do that. So many people, they like, all right, I'm going to start a podcast.
Because it works for the short term, yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, does it? Like, and I'm going to be exactly like Gary Vee, or I'm going to be exactly like Tony Robbins. I want to inspire. That's one thing I see a lot with a lot of young people who want to start in the podcasting business or in the like advice giving business. They love what like people do by inspiring other people. And they want that for themselves. They want to be the person that gets thousands of views and people going to them. Oh, thank you so much for helping me. That's what they desire. And that is an admirable thing to desire, to want to help other people. So they're like 18, 19, they want that. And then they go from that point A, and they try to go right to point C, which is helping people. But I say you need a point B. You need to, which is for me, build a skill or build. Why are good people going to listen to you?
Yeah, I totally agree.
Why are people going to listen to you? Now, I always wanted to like maybe start my own podcast. I'm honestly just doing that shit for fun. Like, and I think I have a lot of good things to say. Now, I've done over $10 million in e-commerce in very specific ways. That's why I think some people should listen to me. And that's maybe not even good enough. But like, why would someone listen to someone who is just regurgitating advice that they've learned from other people? I think that if you're going to be in the advice giving game, you need to spend at a minimum, I say a minimum of 7 years doing and creating something that is unique or a product or service or something that's unique. But so many people, they just want to start some type of podcast or class or master class giving advice. Like they want to help people. And the only thing they ever know is, all right, I'm going to start a master class on how to start master class on how to start master class. You like do something, be unique in your market, like do something, create something.
No, I agree a ton.
And I think I see not enough people doing that. And I learned a lot of the advice and the mindset stuff from learning from other people, from reading about it, from before I started listening to audiobooks. I would go to Barnes and Noble. Before I had any money, I would start reading a book. I would bookmark it. I would leave it at the shelf at Barnes and Noble, and I would go back to Barnes and Noble the next day and read it. That's where I got my knowledge from other people, and I think it's smart to learn from other people. But when you create your business, don't like try to be unique in what you do. And I think too many people regurgitate, copy paste business models, and that, I forget the exact question, but I see a lot of that in the young entrepreneur space.
No, I agree. I feel like a lot of people, they see like Gary Vee succeeding. They see, like Grant Cardone, these big figures, and they figure that's what I need to do. I need to build a huge social media and say what they're saying, when in reality, they're speaking from experience. And that's like one of the best things where you got to be true to you, because you're not going to get to Gary Vee's level acting like Gary Vee.
And I mean, Gary Vee sold wine.
Exactly.
And like, he was very specific to that up until he was like 30. Like and that is a very specific thing, selling wine. And if you're going to sell wine, it's going to take years to become good at selling wine. So like, and that's very specific to selling a product. So like, if you just want to be Gary Vee, why should anyone listen to you?
Yeah, no, I get what you're saying. I do.
Yeah. So if it's sell a product, and then start selling a product, and that's going to take 7 to 10 years to get good at. And like, and most people don't even sell a product. They just start a podcast, and then they just try to get other people on to have a podcast. And then they will try to like do a quote with them, picture themselves, and like a quote that like, ever since I started my podcast, I've actually stopped. I love Gary Vee, of course, but I've tried to stop listening to him. I've tried to cut them off, because I'm trying to be as unique as possible and give And it's hard because I think business advice is kind of like nutrition. You eat healthy. Obviously,
Yeah, honestly.
But my advice, I forget your exact question, but for young entrepreneurs who are starting, it's tempting to put your face out there, but I would say buckle down and become an expert in a very specific industry, whether it's selling. Selling a product is my expertise. And I say selling products is a great way to start, but a service, mowing lawns, I don't know, plumbing or fixing computers, or what's a better way you can scale that? Like a service businesses are great ways. I would say, business 101, product or service. Think of a product or service. Think of a very specific niche, whatever it is, and then think of a way that you can do it at scale. And start it, do it. You're probably going to have to make a lot of pivots.
Yep.
And start a business. If you're an entrepreneur, what an entrepreneur means is that you start a business. So start a business, find customers, sell gizmos or gadgets or sell a service. Do it. Build a customer base. Do it for years. Build an audience. Resell to those customers. Do really, really well in that. It's going to take years and years and years. Do that. And then you have some advice to give other people because you did it. And everyone's skipping that step. So many people try to go from A to Gary V, and they don't have any credibility in between.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. Definitely. I feel like that is a huge part of entrepreneurship is just, building something and then just like going from there if you want to give advice. But so that's why, I don't know, for me personally, I give a lot of personal advice to my friends and business advice to some of them who want to start businesses, because they're younger. But like, I'm never jumping around screaming like, hey, you want to make $100K a year? You know what I mean? Like when I make $1 million a year, then I'll have a little more, but not even at that point. So I get where you're coming from for sure. And so now we're getting towards the end of the podcast. So I just got a few questions I love to ask all my guests. Are you feeling ready for those, Sean?
I'm ready.
All right, let's get them. So the first one is, what is the most valuable skill that you have developed? What do you feel like that is throughout all of your entrepreneurial journeys and whatnot? Hiring
employees. It's hard. It's complicated. And especially for me, it's been labor employees. Hourly people who are shipping packages, printing shirts. That's different than hiring like a creative type or So like it's all about building company culture. It's all about, and I've had 15 employees, but I've hired over 60 because I've had some turnover. I've had some good people, some bad people.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a skill and keeping them happy. And it's just I've developed over time. Who to know is going to be good at the specific thing. It's I can feel my experience.
Yeah. How do you build that culture?
It's hard. It's hard. And one of the things you have to do is care about the people. And you have to think about if they're clickiness. If you have 4 people and they're all whiners. One of the main things I do now, my most basic advice on this, if you're hiring someone, is go to their Facebook page or their Instagram, see if they're whiners and complainers.
Yeah.
If they're whiners and complainers and that's their natural state, and then there's another employee in the company and they go out to lunch together, and if they're whiners and complainers and they got nothing to whine and complain about, what are they going to whine and complain about? The company. So then two people go out to lunch. They come back from lunch. All they did at lunch was whine and complain about the company. Are those 2 employees going to be 2 that work hard for you? No. So you need to hire people who don't complain. You need to, and then once you have 4 or 5, monitor the clicks. Know who in your I would love to have 4 or 5 employees who all aren't friends. They aren't friends with each other at all outside of work. You want camaraderie. You want them to not hate each other, so they dread coming in. But I'm not friends with my employees. Which is tough for me because I'm a cool guy. Like I'm not friends with my employees.
Yeah.
There needs to be a line there. And monitoring clicks, because if 2 or 3 people are friends and they go out, and especially if they're like, if they're like, say you're like a lawn mowing company and they're out on the job and they're complaining about the boss, then it spreads. So I've gotten really good at hiring the right people who don't complain, people who I understand why they're there, selling them on, hey, you work for a small company and you're important, you're valuable. I've got a lot of people who have worked for like big companies before, retail, Walmart, grocery stores. Now they come to my company, they feel important. I make sure they feel important. And then I make sure the people that are all put around them are not complainers, and I monitor clicks. And if I see a click, I look at it and I say, I just had 2 employees who actually just went on a trip together. Yeah. And I know those 2 employees love the company, so I'm cool with it. But I monitor clicks and hiring. It's a skill I've had to develop, and it's hard. It's not easy the first time, but you get better and better at it.
No, for sure. Definitely. So, and then what is some advice that you hear often, but you personally think is bad that you disagree with, right? Because I know there's a lot of advice out in, the entrepreneur space, and every time there's always an entrepreneur, when I talk with them, there's always something that they disagree with. So, what's kind of like something you hear often, but.
All right. There's this like quote, and it's the average millionaire has 7 income streams.
Yeah.
And have you ever seen that?
Yes, of course.
I've seen it, like young entrepreneurs, I think, take that, and that they think that means that they need to do 7 different things.
Yeah.
My advice is, and I think this is so important for young entrepreneurs, and it's focus on one thing. And for me, it's like, and it doesn't mean don't pivot, because pivoting is very important. You need to strategically pivot. You need to be smart, but it takes 10,000 hours to become an expert at something. That's like from a book or something. It's like, and that's like 5 years. So it takes time to be good at something. It takes time to be good at whether it's like, for me, shipping logistics, hiring a very specific kind of employee, building an audience, Facebook ads. Like, these are all things that I've gotten really good at. And I've actually, through all my pivots, I've kept those fundamental things. So focus on one thing. And I think people see that 7 income stream thing, and they're an entrepreneur and they're young and they want to do all these different things. So they're like, all right, I'm going to start a podcast. I'm going to start a t-shirt site. I'm going to start,
YouTube, all that stuff.
And like, and they never become an expert at one thing. And like, if you start becoming an expert, say you do start a YouTube channel and you want to be an expert in gaining a YouTube audience and getting views and selling and getting ads on that, it's going to take a long time. It's going to take years and years and years. And if you do it for like 2 years, or say 2 months for a young entrepreneur, and you're like, oh, this isn't working, and then you go try to start a restaurant, and then after a couple months, that's not working, and then you try to start like a service business where you go mow people on, that doesn't work. You spend 3 months on that. Then you try to start a Shopify site selling t-shirts. Now you just spent 2 years, but you haven't put any time in towards being an expert at one thing. So it's so easy for young entrepreneurs to think that they need to be good at everything. They need to have all these income streams. They need to be a jack of all trades. No. The reason why millionaires have 7 income streams is because they got rich doing one thing, and then they diversify their money. Yeah. I've made $0 on my podcasting and my personal branding. And I often have thought to myself, why the hell do I do this? Jeff Bezos doesn't do it. Yeah. And my answer is, I'm just doing it for fun. And like, and I have money for my business. So like, honestly, but focus on one thing. You don't need to have 7 income streams, and you don't need to do a bunch of different things. Gary Vee didn't start doing all these different things until he was very successful in his wine business. So doesn't mean don't pivot. It doesn't mean stick with something that doesn't work and keep doing it. But every single business is so hard. 95% of companies fail. So if you're going to get rich, or if you're going to be successful in business, you're going to have to fight through obstacles in whatever one thing that you get good at.
True. Yeah. There's no easy, just like, here's your million,
So if you're doing 5 things, in each of those 5 things, you're going to get to that obstacle point, and then you're just going to go to one of your other things. You have to fight through those obstacles in one thing in order to have enough market share to be a sustainable business. So the bad advice is all millionaires have 7 income streams. And I think 21-year-olds hear that, and they do 7 different things, and they never become an expert in one thing. All of a sudden they're 30 and they don't have any money. Yeah. I waited until I was 30, till I've had 10 million doing one thing. And then I started my podcast. Sometimes like I get mad at myself because my podcasting is like my second thing. But it's like a couple hours a week and whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the piece of advice that I think is terrible, that you should be doing a lot of different things. I disagree with that completely.
No, I definitely hear you for sure. Because it's the same thing with a lot of my friends who are like, I don't know what to do. I'm like, try something, keep trying it till you find something you're interested in, enjoy it, and then go deep into that.
Like, yeah,
So,
and that's why like I
yeah.
like my t-shirt story. Like I didn't know what I wanted to do. I got the screen printing equipment. I figured, so I started with t-shirts, but I figured out I hated the screen printing business. But then I did Notre Dame thing, and then I didn't know, so I had t-shirts. So I stuck with that because I already knew how to print t-shirts. So like you know, in a weird way, I stuck with one thing.
Yeah, you compounded those skills.
I compounded the skills, exactly. And all my skills throughout the whole time, I learned about Shopify. I learned about building e-commerce sites. I learned about shipping logistics. I learned about where I'm getting my blank t-shirts from my suppliers. I built on those skills through all those pivots. And that is, it's because it's weird because I tell people to focus on one thing and then they hear my story and it's like,
well, you tested and then you went deep. I get what you're coming from.
I strategically pivoted and I didn't know what I wanted business. I was exactly in the position that so many young entrepreneurs are in. They're like, I don't know what to do. I still
start somewhere, like you said.
I just got some screen printing equipment in my mom's basement. Like, I don't know why.
It just showed up one day. Wasn't even delivered by Amazon.
I still don't know why I did that. But like, I was like, all right, I can create a physical product. And then like, so just start. And if what you start with is some type of service thing, like, I don't know, then you could just build on it, adjust it. But don't quit for the sake of you're bored with it or you don't like it, or like quit because of a strategic pivot. And don't quit. Try to pivot. Try to take something that you learned and build on it or pivot from it. And that's how you figure out.
Most definitely. So our last question we got here is, Sean, even with all the success you have had as an entrepreneur, there's always things, as entrepreneurs can improve in their life and business. So what are you personally looking to, improve upon in either your life or your business right now?
Well, one thing that's fun for me is my podcast is not like a success in my personal branding. So it's fun to be back to square one. And I know how to sell products. I sell products every day, but I have not had success yet. I'm only a couple of months into the business of content and YouTube and selling ears, or like getting people's attention and time rather than selling them a product. And so it's fun to be back at square one. And that's my new challenge. My new challenge is trying to have this like successful podcast or kind of building up my personal brand. And and honestly, like for a very selfish reason, like I just want to be famous. I think it'd be cool. And I think that is like terrible, like emotional advice to people. Like just, I want to be
honest
famous.
Though. Some people really, Gary Vee is honest about that too,
Yeah. And my happiness doesn't depend on it. Like if I don't end up being famous, like I tell myself all the time not to get wrapped up in my podcasting thing. And my most important thing is building my business. And I obsess over building my business. And I never get lost in the fact that that is what's the most important thing to me. But I'm having fun being back at square one with this podcasting thing and having a whole new project where I use the analogy that I'm back in my mom's basement with my podcast.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm trying to figure out exactly if I'm having guests on my podcast, if I'm doing more of a solo podcast. And then like, it's kind of like, T-shirts, Notre Dame, America, and I'm pivoting and I'm adjusting, but I want to get better at that. It's a fun thing that I'm trying to improve on, and it's fun because it's giving me a new little side challenge. As I don't have to print and ship as many shirts myself now as I have, so I do have a little bit of time, and I'm a go guy. So that's my new challenge, and my new thing that I'm trying to get better at is building up this podcast. And one new challenge I've had on the business side is we've had 9, 12 employees. I just hired a manager. I'm paying him like 80 to 100 grand a year, a manager, and he's the manager of all my people. And I've never managed a manager. So it's a whole new thing for me.
That's a good point.
And he's coming in bringing these like big words and processing words and like different lingo and like, so that's one thing I'm currently dealing with is how to manage a manager who's like, he's smarter than me in some ways. He has good experiences in different business logistics and stuff. And we've hit a few walls on like lingo and logistics and how to do things here and there. So that's a fun thing I've been dealing with on that side is how to manage a manager. So that's something I'm working on too, but it's something I'm going to have to do if I'm going to build a labor-based, employee-based, resource-based business. So it's been fun. It's been fun.
Definitely. Well, I appreciate you for coming on today, Sean. Where's the best place for our listeners to follow up with you at?
Sean Lowery 20, Twitter, Instagram, YouTube, type in Sean Lowery.
20 favorite number?
20 is my number. Yeah.
Okay.
20 is my number. That was just my number. I was assigned in like middle school, and I was like, went with it. 20. And so this is my year, 2020.
There you go. Yeah, you got two of them. Double down.
Everyone's saying 2020 is the worst year. Kobe Bryant died. We have a global pandemic. And it's my number, 2020. So I hope
it'll turn around.
I have no doubt it turns. It
will. It definitely will.
Doubt. Yeah.
Awesome.
So yeah, man. Hey, I appreciate you having me on. I love talking business. I know I ramble a lot, so sorry if I talk too much.
No, that's why we brought you on, right? To share your knowledge. So I appreciate it a ton, Sean.
All right. It's been a pleasure.
And that is a wrap. As for my top 3 takeaways from the podcast, the first one is simple. And I even think Sean mentioned, entrepreneurship being more simple than people make it. It's kind of like health where, it's if you eat well and you work out, you get good sleep. Well, guess what? You're going to be pretty healthy. Same with entrepreneurship. And the first step of that is really just take action, show up. This is more for those of you who haven't started a business yet and you want to, or haven't, started a goal that you want to get towards. Because this just isn't about helping people with business. I love business, but I realize it's not for everyone, right? So if you wanted to apply for an internship, reach out to somebody, you got to take action. You got to take action. That's the beginning to everything. And then the second point is pivot till you find something and then go deep into it, right? So I know Sean brought this up with all the different, interesting niches he got into before he arrived at one that he is now having a lot of success with. And he's a guy who really enjoys the process and success. He doesn't exactly care if that process looks sexy or not. Some people do care about that, some don't. Everyone's different. But what I found to be very valuable just about that is it's something I tell my friends all the time. If they come to me and they're like, Gavin, I don't know what to do, or if they're like, I'm doing something, but I'm not really happy with it. I'm having some success, but I feel like I have a greater calling or whatever it is. Well, first off, realize that whatever you're doing, there is honor within that if you're doing it in the right way, right? So if you're a plumber and you own say you start a plumbing business, well, gosh, people need that service. That's important. And you're going to be employing, lots of people. You're going to be helping families save somebody stress and a Saturday evening, a whole Saturday. Stuff matters. It may not look sexy, but it matters. But going back to basically pivoting till you find something and then go deep on it, I tell my friends, hey, if you don't know what to do, pick something, go deep on it for a month. It doesn't matter what it is. Just pick something, take action on it, take action learning about it, maybe starting to even implement it depending on what it is and how quickly you can jump into that. But if you're still interested after that first month and you're like, this is kind of fun. It's not easy, but damn, this is kind of fun. Because nothing's going to be easy, just letting you guys know. There are definitely easier ways that you can, curve your learning by seeking mentors and educating and learning from others' mistakes. And, I'm not going to get into all the different ways, but nothing is just going to be handed to you. Man, here's your free pass. Congrats. You found the one thing that can make you 7 figures in 3 weeks. No, it takes time and you're going to mess up and you're going to make mistakes, but you want to go deep in something. And then if you either don't have success with it or you're not interested and you're just not fired up by it anymore, because some people are fired up just by success. Some people are fired up by what they're doing. So at that point, when you're not interested, if it gets to that point, you pivot, right? Like Sean was talking about, you pivot and you go into something else. Maybe it's, magic. Maybe it's hypnotism. Maybe it's drop shipping. Maybe it's sales somewhere, whatever it is, just pick something, go deep into it. And if you enjoy it and it'll make you money, well, guess what? That's awesome. But you don't know until you take action and you actually choose something. So then the third one is stick to what is genuine to you, right? That will get you the furthest. Don't try to be someone you're not, right? A lot of times, and I see this out of a very good intention, is entrepreneurs especially young ones or just young people in general, will try to be someone, who either is like a motivational speaker or maybe they're trying to be like a smart, like slick entrepreneur type. And that's not genuine to them. You can tell it kind of like makes them like a little uncomfortable. And I would just say, like, stick what's genuine to you and make sure that you share your truth, right? So you're not going out there acting like, you have advice that's going to make people millions of dollars if you like cannot deliver on that, right? So that's why a big part of why I started the show, and I even said this in my intro episode, is I bring on, millionaires, people who have done great things, so that way we can learn from them together. I'm open at the point where I haven't made $1 million yet. I'm never going to go to someone and be like, hey, want me to teach you how to make $1 million? I'll maybe eventually. Only reason I say maybe is because I don't know if I'm gonna, sell education or consulting in that sense. But I know for a fact I'll be a millionaire. Some people think it's cocky. It's true. So why wouldn't I say it? But yeah, you gotta stick what's genuine to you, because you're gonna get way further being you. Because you can become the best version of you with your interests than you will if you try to copy somebody like Gary Vee, right? Because if you try to copy his style of communication, you're only going to be a subpar version of him, which will get you a little traction, but in the long run, it's not going to – in the long run, that kind of copy and paste method is not going to work. You could take some aspects of what's working really well from him if it's still genuine to you in his style of communication or whatever, but it has to be your message. It has to be you at the end of the day, and that will get you way further than trying to, copy someone else's game really ever will. So with that being said, guys, I hope you enjoyed the show today, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.